Welcome to Behind the Camo, our 4-part series created for you. The idea is to provide a real, honest look at life in the British Army. We know there are plenty of stereotypes out there, so this series is here to break those down and show you what it's really like, through open conversations with our soldiers doing different jobs within the Army. Whether you're thinking about your next steps or just curious, we want these episodes to be informative and true to the values that drive Army life. I'm an Army reservist working as a port and maritime troop commander with 165 Regiment Royal Logistics Corps. In civilian life, I'm a sports broadcaster, business owner, and I enjoy the odd game of football as well. If you're watching us live, you can pop your questions in the chat box and our team will reply and give you some answers. The British Army is the biggest team you'll ever be part of. Our primary role is to protect the UK and its interests, both at home and abroad, through military action. This includes defending against attacks, deterring potential adversaries, and contributing to international peacekeeping and security efforts. The Army also participates in humanitarian aid missions and supports civilian authorities in times of crisis. To successfully do so many different and important tasks, we need people from all kinds of backgrounds who want to make a real difference. For instance, you could join in a trade role such as a driver, plumber or mechanic, but no matter which you choose, everyone in the Army receives world-leading training for qualifications and skills that will develop your career in the Army and beyond. Well, joining me today is Lance Corporal Kitty Brooks, Lance Corporal Kieran Fisher, Corporal Samuel Morris, Captain Brooklyn Girdlestone and Private Darcel Francis. Thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure to have your company with us today. I think a great place to start is your journey in the Army so far, your motivations for joining and your journeys. So let's start and work our way through each of you one by one.
Okay, I joined the Army when I was 21. Before joining, I had just done various part-time jobs, working in a school, worked in a bingo hall, cafes, that sort of thing, just to pay the bills. My desire to join the Army started when I was about 12 years old and I was in the Army Cadets. So I kind of got a taste for military life and then kind of delayed it a bit until I was of an age where I'd had a bit of life experience. And then, I joined at 21. And then since I've been for 6 years now, done various different things. I always knew that sport was a really big thing in the Army. And I've always been into my sports. That was quite a big incentive for me to get in there and just be out doing something different every day. I don't like to be doing the same thing, so yeah.
So joined the Army when I was 19. Beforehand, I was working as an apprentice bricklayer. Found it quite mundane. I was looking for something that involved a lot more travelling. The best choice was going to the Army.
Nice. What have you joined as?
I've joined as a driver. Yeah.
And enjoying it so far?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah. Travelled the world only in the short time that I've actually been in, so it's good.
I'm part of the Queen's Royal Hussars, which is the Royal Armed Corps. I've been in the Army since I was 22 years old. Before I joined, I worked in a factory making bath bombs and things like that. Okay, obviously I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life, so kind of always had a little background of wanting to join the Army sort of thing. Went to the careers office, etc. And just thought this should be for me. Something more exciting, more adventures and stuff like going away and stuff like that. So that's the main reason why I joined, particularly tanks, because at the time I thought it was probably like the coolest thing to do, at the time, in my opinion, and still now. But yeah, so I've been in literally almost 9 years this October, and absolutely loved every minute of it, and do a lot of football as well. Been like away on football tours and things like that, so quite exciting so far. But yeah.
So for me, I knew I always wanted to join the services from a really young age. But interestingly, I always wanted to join the police, and that was my lifelong dream, to join the police. And then at 16 years old, I went on a trip with the Army, and I'd never considered the military or the forces at all. And then absolutely loved it. And I went into careers office literally the week later and signed up. So I was really fortunate. I started basic training just after my 18th birthday. I have been in 13 years now and have done so much, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. I think for me, what made me want to join and what appealed to me for the Army, which I'd never considered before I went on that trip, was all the opportunities that you were given, the ability to move out of my hometown and go and do something different, and the ability to have a career that I have. I definitely didn't think I would end up where I am today, and I've loved it.
Incredible.
So I joined from the Commonwealth country of St. Lucia at 18. So when I left, it was really hard because I had no close family in the UK. When I joined, I did phase 1 in September to December. So I'm not really keen on the cold winter side of the UK, but I had an amazing experience. It took me out of my comfort zone a lot. Fast forward, I went to phase 2, did a little bit of driving because I'm a driver by trade, then went to unit and did more driving, more exercise. And then I got a really cushy posting where I joined Joint Helicopter Squadron, did that for 2 years, and then now at RLC HQ, where I do a little bit of recruiting.
Incredible. So everyone's got a real kind of different journey so far. Let's talk about those kind of initial moments for you. So you've made your decision of wanting to come and join the army. Everyone's process of doing that is slightly different. I was a kind of late entry kind of reservist, and so you joined when you were younger and all those different bits. Just, I guess, to share some experiences of those kind of first moments, going to that recruiting centre and then doing your basic training. What was that journey like for you?
Yeah, it was good. I joined just at the end of COVID, so there was still a whole lot of restrictions. The first time I had actually seen a soldier was at my assessment centre. Before then, everything was over the phone, and yeah.
I originally wanted to join the army as a nurse, and luckily fell into the healthcare assistant role, which is a very similar role. So I went up to Scotland to do my assessment centre, and when I actually got there, you're with a group of people who are all in the same position. So it was actually very similar to kind of basic training vibes, like when you get chucked into a group of people, make friends basically. I then joined very shortly afterwards. The actual process was quite smooth for me.
Yeah, cool. So my experience joining was pretty swift. I knew what I wanted to, what unit or kind of pathway I wanted to go down within the army. The Royal Armoured Corps, I knew I wanted to work on tanks and things like that, so I just went down to my local careers office, which is down in Bournemouth. I think it's an AFCO or something like that. Spoke to one soldier there. They just pointed me in the direct way to go about applying. I think it was it was online at the time. Literally within applying, I must have quite rapidly got my the 2-day assessment. I did mine at Purbright. Passed that quite with ease, I would say. I'm quite confident. I was keeping myself fit prior to going as well. Yeah, and then I would say about maybe a week or two later, got given a the basic training start date. So it was all pretty swift and quick. I enjoyed it. It was good.
So mine was a little bit different. So I actually applied, as I said, at 16, and I was really interested in going to the Army Foundation College at Harrogate because of my age. And then I actually got a medical deferral. So I had to go through a couple of extra hoops, provide a couple of extra bits of paperwork and some tests and stuff like that, and then was successful. And I think that that's probably really relevant to bring up because I think a lot of people in the recruitment space, if they get a career from a medical perspective, it really puts them off and they just think, oh, well, I'm not going to get in then and I won't reapply again and I won't go through the appeals process. So for me, that taking no for an answer was absolutely not going to happen. And I went through the appeals process and it was really quick and easy. So yeah, it took me a little bit longer to get to basic training because of that. But I stuck with it and made it through, and here I am 13 years later still loving it. So I think it's important that if people do find that they need to go for medical appeals, I'll always encourage people to do it because you do get through it.
I can second you on that as well. I also had a medical deferral in between, so it is something that you can challenge and come back to and still get in.
Yeah, and I think it puts so many people off and they think, oh, well, because I've had that, then I'm not going to get in. And that's not true at all. It just means that they need a couple of extra bits of paperwork off you or maybe some extra tests and stuff. And it's actually a lot more common than people think. So I just don't think people should let it put them off.
I think, and before they apply as well, they're like, oh, I won't be able to join. And I always say, just try, because they'll tell you very quickly if you can or you can't. You might as well put the application in if you can.
To add on that as well, I worked in recruiting for a couple of years, and a lot of people seem to think, oh, I've got this condition or whatever. A lot of the time it was a case by case process. So yeah, they might just need to provide that little bit more information on said medical condition, whatever you've got, sort of thing. So it's not always a straight no. They can work it out.
I joined online like anybody would, we don't have career offices in St. Lucia. So I joined online. I went through the application. I did my medical back home, shipped it off to the UK. I got a date in July But I was going to A-level when I put in my application, so I had to wait until I finished my exams to leave the country, or it would have been a waste of my parents' money. And then I came up in July, did my assessment at Purbright, had the fastest time at the time for women, so
Small flex.
And from there I joined. It was like a month break afterwards, joining into doing my phase 1. So it was quite a pretty smooth application process for me, because I had that sporting background, so I didn't really struggle, and I was pretty much healthy to join the army, really.
Some really kind of interesting and varied kind of experiences of how you kind of got involved and kind of got started then. It'd be great to hear about some moments that have stood out for you so far on your journey. As we go through this series, I'm sure we're going to touch on some of the exciting opportunities and adventures there are out there. But let's just touch on a few things that you've done so far with the army that have kind of been completely different, life-changing, and experience you never thought you might have.
So I think probably the most standoutish experience I've had was getting to go to Kenya for 4 months. We worked from Nanyuki, and then I would travel out, bring out the diesel, keep them all running for the battle groups coming through. As well, I got to do some whitewater rafting, which was really good. Yeah,
That's very cool.
I mean, I've not done so many deployments or exercise or anything like that, but like I said at the beginning, sport and AT, I will jump on any opportunity for that possible. So end of last year, I went to Texas to play rugby, which was just, I mean, I'm not going to get that opportunity really anywhere else, and for a significantly cheaper price than it would have been in civilian world. Beginning of this year, I went skiing for a week. Again, cost me basically nothing. I've done various different sports that have just been like, I've not even played most of these sports before, and I've just kind of been like, yeah, I'll do it, I'll try it, and I've been able to travel around the country as well as the world, playing sports that I never thought I would never choose to play until it was that opportunity has arisen.
I think like in the sporting world in the army, you get to travel so much. Like I've had the opportunity to go to Nepal, Australia, just to play sports. Yeah, so I would say my best moments in the army is like traveling. We've also like deployments. Like I've been to California, I've been to Falklands. Like I never thought I would see penguins walking on a white sandy beach. But yeah, I got that opportunity to do paddleboarding with penguins and dolphins in Falklands. So that was an amazing experience I had. Being in the army.
For me, I think I got to my unit, which were based in Germany at the time, and I think I got there in September, and then October we went straight to Cyprus to play football. I think I paid like £180 for a week in Cyprus, just literally like living in the sun, playing football with my new friends from the regiment, etc. Obviously a couple of nights out as well, as you do. And then a year later, we went off to Los Angeles for a football tour for 11 days, I think it was. And again, I think it's like £250 we spent per person, and we were staying on Venice Beach, which is, I don't know if you know, it's like the main beach in LA. So absolutely loved it. So sport is definitely a big opportunity in the army to go places as well, not just deployments and things like that.
It makes it sound like none of us are ever in work.
I know, yeah.
We're just playing sport all the time.
I've been away on other, aside from sport, I don't know, kind of like educational packages that we've gone out to other countries and stuff like that, so a bit of kind of history learning and stuff like that, so it's not all work and deployments, like sports, like we've all mentioned.
I think something else you can back me up on as well, just from what I know is it's a bit more like adulty and boring, but like housing for me has been like, I currently live in Camberley in a 2-bed house for, again, a fraction of the price compared to civilian like life, where you have to pay crazy rent, like cost of living is just insane. And then it's things you don't notice when you're already in the army, that you don't notice how like privileged you are to have the things we have for the price that we have to pay for them. I know that you're in a military house as well.
3 years ago, me, my wife and daughter was living in Victoria, which is right in the centre of London, and we was paying like less than £500 a month. Literally had like the tube at my door. Go anywhere in London. I had a rail card paid for by the British Army, so I could kind of hop on the tubes. Pretty much most of London, all the places that you would want to go to, you'd get there for free. I'm an Arsenal fan, so I was going every week to watch Arsenal, you know, so I get my travel there paid for pretty much. So
yeah, and in a future episode, we're going to talk about qualifications and bits and pieces on behind the camo. But I think for the qualifications piece is like really interesting as well, of like actually getting paid to do those degrees. Compare that to civilian people that are doing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I say, I initially wanted to do my nursing, and the reason that I couldn't was I was a couple of UCAS points off of the criteria, which is, you know, it was frustrating at the time, but I've then come into this job role, which has allowed me to get the clinical experience that I wanted to go on to do my nursing. I've got a level 3 apprenticeship out of it, and last year I completed a higher education course, which gave me the UCAS I then need to go on to do my nursing. So kind of all the way through, I've only benefited. Like initially it felt like a setback, but I see it as a step sideways, because I've actually gained more than I would have. So I've now got a level 3, I've got a higher education course, and then I'm going to go on to do my nursing, which is all going to be paid for, compared to people who've done it in the civilian world and are going to end up with student debt and have to pay for accommodation and not getting paid whilst you're at university and that kind of thing. I always use it as I remind myself very often that it's quite fortunate of the position I'm in.
Yeah, completely.
I think probably actually linking that in with the retraining you talked about earlier. So for me, I joined the Army originally as a soldier, and I, at, again, 16 to 18 years old, going through the application process, probably due to my own self-doubt, like very much thought that from, you know, a very typical northern family in the northwest, that like I wasn't the type of person that would go be an officer. So I joined the Army originally as a soldier and did 4 years and had an amazing time, but was like really lucky that my chain of command then highlighted me to then go to Sandhurst to commission. And without them, I don't think I would have pushed myself to go forward for it. So that probably brings me on to the thing that's the most memorable for me for the Army. I've been really lucky to go and do loads of sport and AT as well. I've been opportunity to go and deploy. I went to Afghanistan and up Herrick. I've been to Kenya. I've been to loads of different places, but probably like the two most memorable moments for me are both at Sandhurst, and one was commissioning from Sandhurst and having my mum and dad there on the parade and thinking to myself, oh wow, look at me, like I've made it here. And then I was really fortunate that I've just been at Sandhurst as a platoon commander, and in April 2023 we hosted His Majesty the King on the commissioning parade, which I got to meet him, and it was my platoon that was commissioning on that parade. I think they're like two big standout moments that are probably a little bit different than your normal day-to-day in the Army, that I don't think that I can compare to anything that I would have done in civilian street.
I think like being proud moments, like for me, having my dad come from St. Lucia to watch me pass out was amazing. I remember like freezing on the on the parade square, but like when I saw my dad in the crowd, like I just started crying whilst being on parade, because like I actually made it. I came from country, like hot country, to cold country, and I actually survived basic training. So yeah, it was really a proud moment.
It makes it worth it as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like when you're going through basic training, like everyone knows that it's not easy. It's not meant to be easy. But it's like it is testing. But all I was waiting for was that moment where my family could be there, and I'd be like, it was worth it. Like, you know, it's in the grand scheme of things, 3 months or 13 weeks isn't that long. Like for that feeling that you feel on pass out day is just, for me, incomparable to any other feeling. Like I still think back to how like my family felt and the things they told me, and that was just one of the best moments, I think.
Well, thank you very much for sharing those experiences. Well, it's brilliant to hear those personal stories and seeing just how varied Army life really is. And that might have you wondering, how do you actually get started? Well, first up, if you want to be at the very heart of Army life, you might join as a regular soldier. That means full-time, fully trained, and getting qualifications along the way. It's not just about operations either. You'll get stuck into adventurous training, travel, and all types of sport. And if you're 16 or 17, you can start your journey at the Army Foundation College up in Harrogate, designed especially for junior soldiers. If leading from the front appeals to you, you could go down the regular officer route. Officers are given real responsibility right from the start. You'll train at the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst, famous for turning out world-class leaders, and you'll put that leadership into action both here in the UK and operations across the globe. And then there's the Army Reserve. This is the part-time route. You can be a reservist soldier or officer, combining your civilian life with army service. It's flexible, but still gives you the chance to travel, take on adventurous training and all types of sport, and make a real difference both in your local community and beyond. And of course, I can speak about this personally as a reservist. I get to balance my civilian job with meaningful service and experiences that I wouldn't have anywhere else. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions about the army is that it's all just about fighting wars, but as we've already touched on, the Army's purpose goes far beyond combat. From engineering and logistics to peacekeeping, disaster relief and community support, soldiers play a crucial part in operations that protect, build and support both at home and overseas. And I'd love us to discuss now about how Army life is so much more on that front line. We've touched on quite a bit of this already, but I think from a trade perspective and the jobs you do on a day-to-day basis, those are vital to supporting forward operations and bits and pieces that we do around the world. So if you be open to sharing some experiences of what you do on a day-to-day basis that, goes towards supporting that combat element, but also, helps the Army run and keeps those wheels turning.
I think that a lot of people see the uniform and they see the green uniform and they imagine that everyone in the army works in combat and they think about automatically frontline soldiers. And a lot of people don't realise how many different jobs and roles and responsibilities and trades that we have. And we're all small cogs in the big machine. And every job that you do at every regiment is completely different. And it means that you could be a driver by trade or a photographer or a nurse or whatever. And each unit you go to, and you can change jobs and assignments every few years depending on when you're due to move on and whether you promotion, etc., etc. Everywhere can be completely different. Every job I've done has been completely different. So I'm in a job right now as an adjutant where my job is very much office based. I wouldn't like to compare it to a normal kind of 8 to 5 because it isn't, but I understand where I'm going to be every single day, can revolve my life around it. A job before that, I was on the road a lot and I was away quite a lot, and it meant that I had to organise my life a bit better. You'd go away on exercise a lot and be away from home for, sometimes prolonged period of time. And I think that every job is completely different. And for me, in my role in the Adjutant General Corps, one of the reasons that really appealed to me to go and do my job is the ability to do that and to serve with different CAT badges at different units anywhere in the UK and overseas.
I think I always tell people that to a degree, you can kind of pursue the route you want. So if you want to stay what we call really green, so like really deep in that front line or the deployments and that kind of thing, you absolutely can. But equally, if that isn't your biggest interest, you can kind of base your career around that. Like especially within the Med Corps, if you want to stay clinical, you're not interested in kind of going further out into the field army. You can try and influence it. I'm not saying you can always guarantee that you're never going to get deployed or anything like that, but you can definitely influence it and try and stay on that route. And equally, like I'm in a recruitment job at the minute, which is absolutely nothing to do with my trade, so I'm not clinical because it's something different and that's what I wanted to do. But it was never forced upon me. And obviously, in terms of medical, if we were all frontline in combat, then we wouldn't be much use to anyone because we're needed at every stage of what we call the chain. So we do have combat medics who are more combat and frontline and that kind of thing, but we go all the way back to doctors, surgeons, dentists who will probably be based in the UK providing that treatment. So
obviously lots of different corps within the British Army as well, and obviously the Royal Logistics Corps help the cogs move and get the bits of kit to where they need to be, and they're a vital part. And again, that line of where the product comes from and getting it towards that front line is a very big production line, and you can slot in wherever you want on that.
Yeah, definitely. Start off with your warehouse managers. They will get all the supplies in, send it to our drivers. We'll go out to wherever the army is. If we can't get it to it by road, get to it by plane. We have air dispatchers. Can't get it by plane, we'll get it by mariners.
Yeah, so like logistics-wise, it doesn't even take to be like a driver. I'm a driver, but I've been attached to like RAF. So I've been posted at Joint Helicopter Squadron, where we basically hook loads under Chinooks or at different aircrafts. And it's still logistics because you're getting the supplies out there to frontline or hurricane relief. So it's not just by road, sea, or by air. We still like take part in different tri-service, I would say, because sometimes we work with the Navy as well as the RAF to get these supplies out there, really.
So you can go away and do things like that. I'm actually going away again soon to do work at a training establishment down in the south of Bovington. So yeah, it's not all like guns blazing all the time. There is, you go on exercise a few times, obviously practice your skills and drills, potential deployments going abroad and things like that. But yeah, it's not like all combat all the time, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely. You mentioned obviously deployments then. A big question sometimes we kind of hear is kind of a worry some people might have is leaving friends and family behind. Obviously you mentioned that you kind of moved away from the family. It was a chance to get out of from where you kind of grew up. It'd be great to get your experiences on that, of kind of, you know, the relationships with friends and family, how you maintain those. And I guess also there's a big plus of creating a new family and friends as well within the army. So
yeah, so I live up in Scotland, so about 7 hours away from here. All my friends I still talk to very, very regularly. Not as regularly as you like want, but you meet new friends. Family, yeah, sorted. They're always going to be there for you, even if you don't see them that often. Like, it's
People often think, don't you, that you never get to see your family, like you don't get to come on weekends.
No.
I feel like there's this idea that it's like a prison, like you're stuck there at camp Monday to Friday, you're not allowed to leave, when they don't realise is you can go home as much as you want. Like for some people it's a good thing, you don't have to go home every day, but then some like you can go home, like if you're not working at the weekend you can go home every weekend if you want. And
Can I just add as well, like I think, is it 38 days a year we get leave, which is more than most jobs, I'm pretty sure anyway, so that's quite a lot. So we tend to get like maybe 2 to 3 weeks off at Christmas, which is a long time to have off, so there's plenty of time to see family. Again, 2-3 weeks off at summer, basically your school holidays, I believe, isn't it, pretty much? But yeah, there's loads. Like I started off my career in Germany. That's because I chose to go there, by the way. I didn't just get sent there. So I was away from my family for a couple of years, and I would only see them on those leave periods. But those leave periods are, like I said, like 2 to 3 weeks at a time. So there is plenty of opportunity. Yeah, and you're not stuck in camp from Monday to Friday. Like you can't leave or anything. You can do what you want. Like you're an adult. Like
I once got asked if you're allowed your phones when you're in the army.
Yeah, of course you are.
Yeah,
like,
we are. Like it's not a prison. I promise. We're not forced to be here.
Yeah, so I'd sometimes use that, save up a little bit of money, and maybe book a long weekend like Friday and Monday and get a flight home. So you don't have to have your like leave periods. You can, I don't know, have a little long weekend if you want it as well. Things like that as well. That's good.
I think it all depends on like what job you're doing and what unit you're based at, and like where that is in relation to home. So like for me, I've never had a job up near my family, but I've also actively chosen jobs that I wanted to do sometimes over location. And as a couple of you mentioned, like I've been really lucky. I've done a bunch of jobs in trade. I've also done lots of jobs outside of trade, to training establishments and stuff like that. You know what you sign up for is the honest answer. Like you understand that when you're applying to go and do a job at a training establishment, or you're going to a unit that is higher deployable, that you're probably going to get less time off, etc. But I guess it's all about managing it. So like in those periods of time when I've been doing jobs that are really busy, I know when my block leave is going to be in the summer and stuff, and I'll turn around to my friends and be like, right, okay, I'm going to be home sometimes for like 4 weeks for the whole of August. In those 4 weeks, let's go on holiday, let's do this, let's do that. But then also you do have times where you'll be in jobs where, like as I just said, the job I'm doing right now is definitely a job where I get a lot more time at the weekends off now. So, you know, I'm at the age where a lot of my friends are having children, people are getting married, and it means that like my weekends are taken off and I'll organise to go home up north, etc. But, you know, I've got friends that are from the Midlands, and they've joined a job or a regiment where they're based out of the Midlands and they see their family all the time. And I think it depends as well what you class as family. So like when you're really young, you know, you'll see maybe your parents, your siblings, your friends as your family. But then as you get older and maybe get married, have your own children and stuff like that as well. I know you touched on it earlier about like the housing. So if you get married, you can get entitled and in long-term relationship to married quarters. So people will have their husbands and wives and children that will be living with them. So I think as that evolves, probably understanding where you class as home might not necessarily be your hometown anymore, if that makes sense.
I also feel like you kind of like briefed on it, and then like you get friends, like what do you class as friends and family? Because since I've joined the army, my collection of friends is now spread across the whole country, if not the world, because when you meet people in the army, you'll be based at a unit with them, live with them maybe for 2 years, and then they move and you move, but then you're like, so I've now got friends literally over the whole country, if not around the world, so that whenever I go anywhere, I'm like, oh, hey, I'm in the area sort of thing. So you just automatically are friends with people, like when I guess they call it the brotherhood, the sisterhood, that, you know, if you meet someone wherever it is and you figure out that you're both in the army, it's oh, okay, we're automatically friends because we're both doing a similar thing. And that, for me, is one of my favourite things, that no matter kind of where I go, I know that there's someone there.
Yeah, it's really important. And from a Commonwealth soldier perspective, because, I think the British Army, we're blessed, right? We have soldiers from the Caribbean, from Nepal. We're very lucky with that as a breadth of community. But how does that work for travel and family?
Well, for me, home is 8.5-hour flight. So normally, I break down my leave period. I normally don't take Easter leave, but I use my leave over summer and Christmas to actually go home and spend time with my family. Also, I have my friends that are classed as my family. So, if I don't go home, maybe I spend Easter by them instead. So it's a different life, really, being Commonwealth. Your friends are classed as home, because they can relate to what you're actually feeling, and you're not alone or left out, really. So, for me, I went home on dom call, and dom call is something that the Army gives Commonwealth soldiers, that you can go home for 45 days, a paid flight, if you're not naturalized, and you go home on vacation and you spend time with your family. So I've had that opportunity because I've done 6 years in the Army to actually go home over that period.
Oh, so there is that support structure to support, which is
Yes.
great and really, really important. Well, as you just heard then, it's not all work and no play. Army life gives you the space to keep those important connections and to enjoy the things that you love outside of the uniform too. Now, this is a misconception that definitely needs busting, is the idea that the Army isn't for women. In reality, women play massive roles across every single part of the Army. And obviously it's great to have 3 of you with us today as well to kind of share your experiences and journey.
I think it's actually the other way for us in the nursing world, is that men aren't allowed to be nurses, but we absolutely can, and we have plenty of them. But I have never experienced any kind of discrimination or anything like that, but just because I'm female. And if anything, I like to kind of use it to my advantage and kind of give me that extra drive just to prove, because it is the Army is quite a male dominated environment, but I kind of thrive in that because it gives me more of a boost to prove that I can do hard things and I can do whatever the boys can do. I think that started when I was at school, and I still have carried it through into my career. But yeah, I've never faced any real issues for it. I've never been stopped doing anything that I want to do.
Now we have women being on the front line. So I think it's amazing, and I think we shouldn't be discouraged as women. Everything a guy can do, we can do. We might not be as strong and as powerful as them because they're men. Their body's built differently, but I think we are capable of doing everything that they can do.
I think it's all about what you want to do in your career, and we're really lucky to work for an organisation where we don't have a problem with equality. And I find that I sit and talk to some of my civilian friends, and I forget that out in other organisations there's things like gender pay gaps, there's issues with things like maternity leave, and women are fighting every day for rights to be the same, of equality and equity and etc. And I don't think that that's something that we have in the British Army. In this day and age, it's actually more of I'm more shocked when people ask me that question, because I'm more a bit like, well, what do you mean? I don't see any different. I don't see you treated any differently. I don't see me any differently than my male counterpart. Ultimately, if me and you are both able to do our job, why does it matter what sex you are? And I think that I'm quite proud to be part of an organisation that I feel makes its women feel that way.
No, 100%. Well,
I don't know how in-depth you want to go into it, but things I think is quite a big thought process for younger girls, especially, are things like pregnancy and periods. And it's in the quite recent years that periods have kind of become or been brought to the attention of, the seniors within the Army, and that sometimes people get really is this going to be a problem? Things like exercise when you're out in the field and that kind of thing. And I don't know if you guys have experienced it as well, but I feel like there's been a big development of being aware of that, especially it is quite a male dominated area and men don't tend to think about that kind of thing, or didn't, and now it's becoming kind of customised a bit more so that can be allowed for, and there can be things provided and understanding and education of that. And then the same with maternity. We want people to still have a family and still have their normal life as well as the Army, instead of one or the other. And people tend to think that if you want to have a family, you can't join the Army, when that's absolutely not the case. There's lots of support for childcare and that kind of thing. I mean, even things like you say, your hair, For some females, the idea of wearing your hair straight back in a bun is like that themselves will put them off joining the army. And they don't realise that you can wear it in a ponytail or a plait. You can wear makeup as long as it's kept professional. You can still have your identity, and especially when you're not in uniform at the weekend when you've got your own time, you can do to a degree, you can do whatever you want, and you can still have your own identity. It doesn't mean that you get like indoctrinated into this cut out mold that the army want you to be. Like, people still have some, flexibility in what they want to do with themselves. And I don't think people understand that. People think that once you're in, that's it. Like, your whole world changes and you've got to be this perfect soldier.
Doing recruiting, like going to school. So normally we have female surge weeks where we go in and we just speak to predominantly females. And the first question they will ask her, can I do my nails? Yeah, you can do your nails, you can do your hair, you can wear lashes, but it needs to be professional. It cannot be standing out where you have blue lashes or red nails or stuff like that. I remember going for phase 1, my section commander, he never had a girls section, so we literally had to teach him about periods and stuff. Even though he had a partner, he didn't really understand our body, so we literally had to take him 14 weeks of just pure torture.
Crash course on females.
Yeah, about working with women, because he's never had strictly girls as a section. So it's really breaking the stigma of girls cannot do stuff in the army when they actually can.
I feel like recognising that men aren't the best people to advise women on women's things is also a big thing. That doesn't really happen. I don't feel happens. Like, normally if a man, if a male is approached with a female question, they're not going to try and lie about it and say, I don't care about it. They'll just kind of refer you on or signpost you to someone who can answer relevantly and understand what you're asking, which I think is a step ahead in itself.
No, it certainly is. Well, thank you so much for sharing. There's some really kind of interesting information there. And I think it's clear that the army is a place where women thrive, break barriers and lead from the front. And the opportunities just keep growing as well, which is great to see. One of the other misconceptions we hear a lot is that you've got to be some kind of elite athlete before you even think about joining the army. So let's put that to our soldiers. Fitness levels when you first joined. Obviously, you were saying that you kind of like to keep fit anyway.
I do.
But were you some kind of like Mo Farah super athlete when you first joined?
No, absolutely not. I would say I was reasonably fit prior to joining, because I think you have to have some sort of fitness to a degree to join the army. I actually ended up becoming, I'd say, one of the fittest people within the squadron, or we could say regiment at the time. And the army does a lot of fitness, so it's all about them building you up. You don't have to be super fit, like, I don't know, Mo Farah or whatever, or Usain Bolt is in speed. The army, it's all develops you from phase 1 through to phase 2, and then continue in regimental duties. Like, we do a lot of PT, 4 or 5 days a week sort of thing, and it's good. But yeah, I would say you need to be super fit. The army definitely develops you yourself, and they give you plenty of time to go and do your own physical activity. Like, I like running, so I do a lot of that in my own time, which the army are fully supportive of. But yeah, or sport, you can do lots of sport as well, so always keep your fitness up that way as well.
Being really fit is a bonus, joining into the army, because like me, back home I used to run, I used to represent St. Lucia, I played sports. So coming in the army, I was naturally fit already, but being that I was naturally fit, I was able to guide somebody that's not fit, that can actually reach that standard. So I think being fit helps somebody that's not that at that level, because you can actually motivate them to get to that level. So I would say being fit is a bonus, but at the same time, you don't really need to be fit. I've seen girls that struggle with runs, lifting, and they're still in the army, because the army is there to help you. You have instructors there to guide you and get you to the standard that you need to be, really.
I would echo all of that. I think that absolutely coming in fit as you can be is a huge advantage, because let's be honest, your personal fitness, unless you've got a medical issue, is well within your control. So like when you go to assessment, we have got instructors and we've got amazing physical training instructors that their actual job is to improve people. And I think that, you know, if you look at a lot of the fitness that we do, so when we look at like tabs and all that kind of stuff, that's not necessarily something that you would have done as a civilian before joining. We don't just chuck a Bergen on your back with like 40 kilo in it and expect you to run 8 miles on your first week. Our training is all build-up training, strength training. Our physical training instructors have done so much work on improving how we do fitness. And I think it was mentioned already, but again, I don't know any organisation other than ours that like pays people to go and do fitness during working time. So in a job before where we have physical training instructors, I turn up at the gym 3 times a week and I'm told what to do and I just do it and it keeps me fit. But I was in a job prior to now where I wasn't at a standard unit, and therefore I got given time off during my working day to go and do fitness. So I decided to join my local gym and went and did that instead. So again, keeping fit is something that we have to do for our job, and therefore the army is invested in helping you do it.
Yes, like sometimes I would say you might not get that opportunity to do a lot of fitness as well. Like if you're away on exercise or you're on a course, for example, and you're kind of working like 9 to 5, you're exhausted, you don't have that time. But it's also your responsibility as a soldier or officer to do that physical activity in your own time as well. Like, I mean, you could go 2 weeks without potentially doing something due to being away or whatever, but as long as you're being professional and keeping on top of it. Like when I first started in the army, I probably couldn't even run 5k, but now I can run 21k plus sort of thing. So yeah.
I think people have a crazy idea of what the fitness standards are when you first join anyway. Like I think everyone thinks you have to be able to run 5k or run, you know, lift crazy weights, and that's not the case. Like if people actually were to research their job role and see what the fitness test is, I guarantee you it's much lower than what people think it is. Like it's not that crazy. You don't have to be able to do anything wild. It's just basic stuff that you've probably already people have already done at school or at college or something like that.
The idea of basic training is to build like your character, your fitness, just shape you into what the army want.
No, massively. Well, I think that's kind of proved the point. You don't have to be superhuman and to be some kind of massive supercharged athlete for this one. What matters is of course your determination, and as we've heard, the army is there to help you get stronger every step of the way. And that brings us to the end of our first episode of Behind the Camo. Thank you so much to every single one of you for giving your time and joining on this one. I hope today's conversations have helped you see that army life is about so much more. There's a whole world of opportunities, challenges and support ready and waiting for you to explore. But this is just the start. In our next episode, What's in It for You, we'll take a closer look at the long-term development, education and career prospects that come with an army career. So if you're wondering how the army can help you build your future, make sure you join us to find out lots more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.